Welcome everyone that is joining us today for this very much anticipated session on creating systems of support through basic need strategies for adult and parenting students. As you all know, this is the makeup session from our Student Success Summit, and we are very happy to have the opportunity to make sure that those of you all who were looking forward to this session are able to enjoy, hear from our panelists and our featured speaker today. And we're super excited to go ahead and get started. I'm Ariane Jed Seals, and I am the Associate Director for Student Basic Needs with the Kentucky Student Success Collaborative at CPE. I oversee all things basic needs with the collaborative, and joining me and doing so much of this work alongside me with this conference session is Tracy Teeter as the Associate Director for Adult Attainment. So the session overview includes, we'll have some introductions to everyone. We have our featured speaker coming from One Parent Scholar House. Then that will follow with a panel discussion from some amazing panelists, community and campus partners. And then we'll have time for questions and next steps.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Ariane. My name is Tracy Teeter, and as Ariane shared, I serve as the adult attainment lead for the Council on Post-Secondary Education in the Kentucky Student Success Collaborative. Really excited to be here today. I spent the last 9.5 years with the National Center for Families Learning, and so this topic to me is of critical importance for our collective success. Just a couple of really quick data points about parenting students. Nationally, roughly 1 in 5 of our undergraduate students are parenting students, and the data nuggets that you see here, our Kentucky data also follow suit. The majority are older, so they're adult learners. They're often first-generation students. And when we look at these data points, each of these nuggets gives us an opportunity into how we can best support parenting students. When we think about students that are more likely to have slightly higher GPAs, but less likely to graduate, there's a real opportunity there for us to sort of roll our sleeves up and get to work. We can't do this work, however, on campuses in a silo or alone. This is a systemic issue that takes support from across the community. And we know that research bears this out. A parent is often, their educational success is often one of the biggest predictors of their children's educational success. And therefore, this really is a family affair. So all of that to say, we could not be more excited to just have a conversation with folks that are living this work every day about how we support student basic needs in a way that leads to attainment for our parenting students. Thinking about this work across community, we think about some of the work that our community-based organizations are doing to support our efforts. And there is nobody better to talk about this than our spotlight today. Chris Peck is the Chief Advancement Officer with One Parent Scholar House. And Chris is here just to share a little bit about his organization and how they support students that are continuing and achieving their goals. So Chris, we're glad to have you with us today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. You just want me to jump right in? Okay, One Parent Scholar House is a really special place. You know, it's more than just a place to live for single parents, but it really is a life-changing opportunity for them to get their education, to work through challenges in a community that's supportive of them, and really it can be transformative for our parents. And we've had hundreds since 1986 graduate from this program, but we'll jump right in and talk about why it is so special. The One Parent Scholar House program helps single parents earn a post-secondary education by providing them affordable housing for them and their children. Like I said, it started in 1986 with 15 apartments on Virginia Avenue. In 1995, we moved to Horseman's Lane, which is really close to Red Mile Road. Through the years, we've added additional apartments. And in 2010, Virginia Place became known as One Parent Scholar House. So a lot of people have heard of Virginia Place and don't realize that that change took place. Over that time, the Hope Center has gotten more involved with One Parent Scholar House, and that's kind of my role. We help them with development, obtaining resources, like I said, raising funds, putting on events for them, and so that's why I'm here today. The goals of the program is really a comprehensive self-sufficiency is what our goal is, and we do that by providing affordable housing for 80 single-parent families. We have on-site child development from them, and I'll get into more of that later. Support, guidance, and encouragement for those attending colleges. We put on multiple workshops a year, and I'll get into more of what those entail. Counseling is available. We have special events. And then really what makes this special is the community and supportive environment in which single parents can live and support their families. All right, as you can see on the screen, these are our successes. You know, these are our graduates over the last 5 years at least. And if you just want to look at not all those statistics, but over the last 5 years, we've had 28 individuals receive certifications in different forms. 48 have obtained their associate's degree. 28 have obtained their bachelor's degree, and over 9 of them have obtained a master's degree. So a really great number for a 5-year period. But we're always looking for what's next and to grow. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. These are just some photos of our program. You can kind of see the kids and the individuals involved. You know, it is a very, it could potentially be a stressful time for parents getting their degrees, raising a family on their own, but we try to make it as fun and stress-free as possible by giving them those opportunities and resources. And really, like we said, you'll hear me say it a million times, connecting them and forming a supportive environment and community for them. Next screen, please. This is the criteria. So you have to have a high school graduate, be a high school graduate or have a GED certification. You must be enrolled full-time in a post-secondary education institution. And it takes at least it takes at least 1 year to complete. You must be a single parent with primary custody of your child. You must be 18 years of age, be eligible for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is basically Section 8 housing, where you have to be a U.S. citizen. Your family size and total annual gross income does not exceed 50% of the median income for your county or the region that you're in. And then you must pass a background check. And a little bit about the background check. We do submit the criminal record check on your behalf. Child-related charges will automatically exclude you from the program, but all other situations are reviewed case by case by our program coordinator. So just because you have a pending misdemeanor for parking tickets or whatever that may be, you know, that does not exclude you from the program. And so we'll work with individuals to make sure that you're a good fit for the program, and we feel like everyone else in the community will be safe. You must meet those income requirements. So we ask that they submit 6 months of pay stubs. If you're not currently working, an individual can show a financial letter of support, either from a former employee or an institution. And so it does not necessarily preclude you or exclude you just because you're not currently working. The next steps, once all that is done, the information is provided to our staff member, our program coordinator. She'll communicate with you the program requirements and those expectations. Residents will then sign a lease and agree to all program requirements. And then new residents must attend a mandatory orientation. Typically, this process takes a little over a month to complete. As I mentioned, we have great community partners, including the group that helps us with our childcare. Community Action Council manages what is known as a prep academy. The Development Center takes children 6 weeks to 5 years of age. And through its early Head Start program, they really do remain committed to delivering a comprehensive education for the children. They promote a child's development through services that support early learning, health, and family well-being. And also, they do a fantastic job at preventing and reducing, those individuals they work with directly in the community, and they advocate for them to really try to alleviate any of those financial barriers to their success. The child development centers, like I said, they're right on campus, and they open at 8:30 a.m. and they're open till 5. They accommodate those children 6 weeks through 5 years of age, and they provide educational screenings and assessments, as well as conduct parent conferences and home visits for the families if they need extra resources. Next is our housing. Our housing component, we have 72 two-bedroom apartments. Right now, we have 2 vacancies for those apartments. So first come, first served. If anybody is eager, I'll pass along an email address here in a minute where you can reach out to us. And then 8 3-bedroom apartments. The base rent is $150 a month, and that's based on income. Residents typically pay about 30% of their income if they have income. Up front, there is some cost. This $250 security deposit is required. The majority of the rent for those individuals to live with us is paid through the Lexington Housing Authority. So each resident receives that. They don't have to necessarily apply. Once they meet those requirements, then they automatically can obtain that. The resident is responsible for paying their own electrical bill, but One Parent Scholar House pays for all the water, sewer, and trash services at the site. Next slide is just a couple images of the rooms, the apartments. Almost all the apartments have the amenities that we show here, including some washers and dryers. Those that don't, there is a place, a laundromat on site that they obviously have access to 24 hours a day. And we have a park. We have a park for families where they can get out and play on site as well. The workshops that I referred to earlier, residents are required to complete 4 workshops each year they remain a resident. Workshops are offered at least once a month, except for December. Topics include things, but they're not limited to this, things like life skills, financial advice, information, literacy. They have parenting tips, how to handle difficult situations as a parent, cooking on a budget, and then there's planned activities for families to do together on site. Additional supports include we make referrals to several organizations in the community. Whatever that family identifies as a true immediate need, maybe the most pressing need that's keeping them from feeling successful or being able to do school work and parent, whatever that obstacle is, we really want to work within that space. So a good example is we've worked with Goodwill Cars to Work program in the past. We have a great relationship with New Vista and really strong and long-term relationship with a lot of the local food pantries. So we receive donations regarding food, clothes, household items, toys, school supplies, diapers, and then something Allison, that's our coordinator, she wants to make Christmas special for all of our residents. And so we do a lot of things around Christmas time and birthdays to make sure they have those special moments. To remain in the program, residents must maintain full status as a student in our program. They must maintain a GPA of 2.5 or above. Semester grades must be submitted and reviewed by our program coordinator. Now, just because you dip under that does not mean we automatically, say you're not a part of this program. We work with individuals. So like I mentioned, every obstacle and challenge that you have, Allison Justice is our coordinator, and she's really good about putting individuals on a plan that's workable for them. And because we really want them to remain in the program, the longer they're there, the greater chance of success. So she's really good about showing grace and helping these individuals. So they meet monthly with her at her office. They must attend those 4 workshops that I discussed earlier. I didn't mention money management, resume building, self-care, which is vitally important. And then we have career days on site. Residents can stay in our program even past that bachelor's degree. As you heard, we've had 9 individuals receive their master's degree. And so it doesn't end just after the associate or bachelor degree is obtained. The result of completing the One Parent Scholar House program is that it really does prepare families to live and work successfully. Each family succeeds and leaves their program, and they're replaced by another family that's highly motivated to do the same. And so, you know, I could go on and on about this, but it really is more than just a place to live. It's a life-changing opportunity for these families. And, you know, it's a community of resilience, hope, and transformation, where education really becomes the key for them to have hope and a new beginning and building a legacy for their family. So every degree earned is really a personal achievement, and it's a generational shift. We truly believe that. So, and just as much for the parents and, you know, what it means to them by obtaining the degree, it really is great for the children to see their parents achieving such a lofty goal and working hard and proving that anything is possible. This is Casey's story, who's one of many success stories, and I'll read it to you. She said, "When my daughter was born, I regularly worked until 8 p.m. By the time I picked her up from daycare, the day was over. I barely saw her and didn't have anything to show for it. I enrolled in the BCTC radiography program and moved to One Parent Scholar House in August. This is home. I have a washer and dryer, and we each have our own room and a living room. It seemed like a place when we opened the door. It seemed like a palace when we opened the door. I know every person in my building, and we can knock on each other's door if we need something. I'll graduate from this program this spring and plan to attend Moreland for the MRI CT program. I hope to attend medical school for radiology once my daughter is grown." So that's just one example, but obviously we have hundreds of more just like that. So if you're a single parent out there and trying to obtain your degree, obviously you can reach out to us and we want to work with you. If you're someone out there that's just passionate about helping an organization like ours and just looking for a way to kind of plug in, these are a couple of ways to do that. You can sort clothes. You can help us organize storage rooms. You can volunteer for all those special events that we discussed, like a summer cookout, the resource fair, the Christmas parties. You can sponsor a child for their birthday. You can sponsor a family for Christmas. Bingo with prizes, or some kind of game night for parents. So just, you know, to bring some fun experiences for them and their families. Or you can volunteer by teaching a life school class to one of our residents. If you want to learn more about our program, you can go to our website, and it's just oneparentscholarhouse.org. You can apply to be a resident, or you can also just get tied into ways to serve our organization. And that is my presentation. I hope you all can understand me. You know, my accent, you should have put some like subtitles underneath there. So,
Chris, if they needed subtitles for you, they definitely need them for me half the time.
but thank you.
Before I go into the introducing our panelists, we did have a question to pop in, and I don't want to make that question wait for the Q&A. It says from an attendee, you said there are 2 vacancies, but I would have assumed there would be a wait list. Do you find that you have more demand for your services than you can meet? Or is it hard to get the word out and fill the units?
Yeah, you would think, you know, that we would be full at all times, but we're not. We do have a wait list right now for the 8 3-bed apartments. but we have the 2 vacancies for the 2-bedroom apartments. So there is a wait list for the larger one, but not for the 2 that are just the 2-bedroom. And it ebbs and flows, you know, depending on how many people graduate the program, then obviously there'll be more opportunities. So it's kind of an ongoing rolling thing. But it's best to get on the wait list. And the sooner those people get all those requirements submitted to us, that obviously makes the transition seamless and quick, it happens more quickly.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
And to our attendees, I will be monitoring the question and answer box. So thank you for that question. As I introduce our featured panelists, I am very excited to introduce Robyn Moreland, the director at Center for Student Parents at the Eastern Kentucky University. We also will have joining us Brittany Collins, who is a student at Eastern Kentucky University. We have Lamont Campbell, a partner of ours at Family Scholar House, who is located at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. And we'll have joining us Autumn Bishop from Gear Up, Kentucky. Thank you all so much for being a part of this panel. We're super excited to be able to get your feedback and hear some of your insights on our topics at hand. I will turn this over to Tracy to lead the questions. And again, I will monitor for questions that pop up in the Q&A box.
Thanks, Ariane. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the slide so we can see everyone. This first question is for, Brittany. Brittany, what led you to enroll in your program?
Okay, sorry. I decided that I wanted to go back to college. I'm a first-gen student, and life kind of happened, and I ended up having 3 kids, and it kind of just fell into my lap that way. And I started at Eastern Scholar House, and I ended up getting my associates from BCTC, and then I transferred to EKU for agriculture and a minor in aviation. So through all of that, it was like this program that I was able to be a part of, and they understood what I needed, and I was able to be super successful in doing that. And so it was just like the perfect storm, I guess.
Just to follow up to that, what supports, and you mentioned a few, what do you feel like has most benefited you to both pursue and then achieve your goals?
It's funny because I don't all of them. Anything that was offered, really, I tried to take advantage of. So any of the classes, budgeting, anything that I could get into, I head first jumped right into it. So thankfully, I was very discouraged from going to college because of, oh, you won't need it, or you get into debt. So I'm really proud of the fact that I am about to graduate with my bachelor's, and I will have 0 debt. And so I feel like just understanding, just being able to have that information, because again, I was first generation. Nobody taught me how to do any of this stuff. I never ever thought I would go get an associate's degree, let alone a bachelor's, and then let alone get accepted into the McNair program and go on and get accepted to a couple of universities already to get a master's degree. And then I'm over here like, well, why not a PhD? Like, so everything that I've been able, that has been offered, has put me that much closer to getting further than I could ever imagine.
So, Brittany, I don't want to speak for everybody, but considering everything that's going on in our world and our times right now, that's the boost I think we all need to continue to do this work. Thank you so much for sharing that. This next question is for Robyn. Robyn, how have you purposely involved community-based partners in working alongside you to support parenting students?
Well, thank you for the question. And I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit if you don't care. I think we're good on time, but I was hoping that maybe Brittany could tell you all where she is right now.
So through McNair, they have always been super kind about sending me to conferences. So with that, in the last 2 years, I have been able to attend, I think, 6 different conferences, either McNair, Women in Aviation, or International Agronomy conferences. So currently I am in Denver, Colorado at the Women in Aviation conference. So there was a time change and I got a little confused, but I got on. So.
I just wanted you all to hear that because the question that you have for me is really about using our community and using our partners. And Brittany's a really good example of how all of those partners and all of those programs that come together really help students have the outcomes that sometimes they didn't even know that they wanted or needed, which is kind of part of Brittany's story as well. And we are incredibly excited for her and whatever the next step that she takes. But specifically at Eastern Kentucky University, I have to brag on our institution for a minute. In 1998, they took a leap of faith and welcomed a partnership with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to offer a student support service program for low-income parenting students. So in 1998, the university took that step, and here it is all these years later. And I wish I had the data that told us the number of students like Brittany that we've passed through these doors. We're a similar program that is at the community colleges, their Ready to Work program. There are 3 of us at 4-year universities, Eastern Kentucky University, Murray State, and Northern Kentucky University. And I say that because there's not a lot of really designated programs within universities that work with our parenting student population. And so we're really proud that EKU and all those other schools that I just mentioned have really continued our commitment to this population. For us personally, you know, our students, our parenting students that we work with, many of them live in our Eastern Scholar House or Kit Carson Commons. Those are 2 housing units similar to One Parent Scholar House that actually sits on our university campus. Now, students that attend there can be pursuing education in any higher education schools. We just happen to have this wonderful partnership with Foothills Community Action that houses that these places actually sit on our campus. So that's only been within the last 5 years or so. And so that partnership has really grown, and it is, I think, potentially one of the most important partnerships that we have for this population at EKU. We have 64 units, I think, 3 bedrooms, very similar to One Parent. They were one of the places we went and toured when we were ready to start designing our program too. And so our relationship with them is continued. We do case management for their students who are EKU students because we identify that in order for students to remove barriers to education, those other basic needs like housing and childcare are instrumental in helping them be successful. We also actively seek out partnerships with our community-based services. Those are the folks that do our Medicaid and our child care assistance and all of the other basic needs assistance that our students may have. As we all know, committing to going back to college, especially as a parent, can be very financially taxing. I think some of our national statistics even point that most of them are working. So they're full-time students, full-time employees, and full-time parents. And so however we can help to bring in community resources to our campus for our students, we do that as well. The Targeted Assessment Program to the University of Kentucky is a really great partner with us. They give us a lot of referrals our local domestic violence shelters, our substance abuse treatment programs, all of those programs, we really feed in a lot of our population, and we really identify the importance that our college campus is. The services we have for our students are very important, and our students use those. However, our community really has to also be invested, because all of our parents are actively engaged in the community through mental health services, the schools that their kids go to, the daycares. So every opportunity we get, we are tabling at school back to school nights. We are set up in health departments and WIC clinics to talk about the resources we have. We're sitting on committees. We're part of community organizations, and having that presence, I think, is really helpful for our students for their long-term success as well.
Thank you, Robyn. Similarly, Autumn, this next question is for you. Talked a little bit about community-based partners. How have you engaged local workforce partners to support a student's continued journey?
Sure. So my name is Autumn Bishop, and I work for Gear Kentucky. We are a grant administered through the Council on Post-Secondary Education, and we are in 12 school districts across the state. So we are working in our middle school and high schools and 12 school districts to make sure that our students are financially, academically, culturally, emotionally, and socially prepared for life after high school, whatever that may be. Military, college, short-term certificates, the workforce, anything that they're doing to continue on that path after high school is what we're working with them on. So for me, my home base is at Augusta Independent in Augusta, Kentucky, and I really leverage with our community partners. We have a strong system of support here, and leaning on those who are experts in the community. We love to bring them in to work with our students because they're familiar with these people. They're parents of their friends, they're coaches, they know these individuals. So the way that we utilize those is, one, is through financial stability and employment. So I will have them come in and talk with our students about collaborating with a bank. They'll come in, and they just offered a session with my seniors last week of how to create a bank account. What does credit mean? What do you need to do when you're taking out loans for a car, for a home? All of these basic life skills so that they're prepared for after they graduate, they know how to do these things. Very similar with a tax prep company. We had H&R Block come in and talk about taxes. How do you fill out W-2s? What does filing your taxes look like? Because for all of our students, no matter what the path that they take is, they're all going to need these foundational skills. And even on top of that, we really collaborate with our local Kentucky Career Center in Maysville. They come in once a month to provide resources for our students and workshops geared toward resume building. They'll come in and review resumes. They'll go through different workshops on how do you list your objectives, what kind of activities do we need to put in here, and they review those and make sure that when they're ready to graduate, that these resumes will help them land a job. It could be an entry job, things that they're interested in doing. They want to set them up for success. And then initially, we also do a senior mock interview as part of our curriculum for seniors. They have to go through 3 mock interviews before they graduate. So we'll bring in employers from across the community to come in and interview these students. They look at them based on their resume. How are they dressed? How do they interact with them? Do they have good eye contact? How are they answering these questions so that when it comes time for them to go through an actual interview, they already have the skills and the tools necessary to make that transition easier. It's really important that our students have these soft skills so that they're able to develop communication, have time management, and problem solve, because all of these are essential for both the workforce and personal life, no matter what they're planning to do. Without my community partners, I would not be able to do half the things that I do, because just like all of us, we're all stretched very, very thin. We're trying to accommodate as many students as possible. So when we rely on those in our community and within our social networks to help us reach this common goal, it really helps us all to help the future generation and make sure that we're all setting them up for success.
Thanks, Autumn. Lamont, the next question is for you. How do you involve student voice in designing systems of support that are intended to, in fact, serve the student?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. First, Brittany, congratulations. Keep going. You now have a bunch of fans on here that you don't even know exist. We are all rooting for you. The ones you can't see, the ones you can see. So keep going. You have fans of us. But again, in regards to systems of support, the whole collaboration with Family Scholar House and KCTCS and having a representative on a campus is because of students' voice. It's because students went and said, just having a student center, a student hub center isn't enough. Yes, a lot of the schools across the state have a pantry to help the students, but as we all know, students, life starts to life, right? Things start to happen that go well beyond just needing the pantry, just needing some assistance with tutoring. Life starts to life. And so students' voice is everything. It's why I'm here on campus at BCTC. It is my job to get out and about, both in all of our freshman year experience classes, to introduce myself and for them to communicate with me. What are the needs of the students? That changes day to day, that changes year to year, semester to semester. And it may vary in childcare, it may vary in housing, it may vary. We've assisted students with speeding tickets, with eviction notices, with expungements, and all of that's because of a student's voice. It's not because I just went out and thought, oh, there's some students here that need expungement, let me start sharing that. No, we get those resources because students voice that, hey, these are the things we're going through. This is why I can't come to class. We now have a gas card program here at BCTC because students said, Mr. Lamont, I just can't drive from Richmond. I can't get to class from Danville. I can't get there from Winchester. And I'm in the nursing program and I'm this close, but I just can't get to class. And so that gas card is a developmental program that was because of the students' requests, right? Our laptop program, we have one. Every school lends out loaner laptop. But when that waiting list became too strenuous and students were asking for more, it was the student's voice that allowed me to go buy 25 more laptops to get out on campus. So everything that we do is because of a student's voice. I think I'm creative, but I ain't that creative. I'm not that creative. So everything that we're doing, that we're trying to help with, it's for the student, it's by the student, it's created by the student. I'm the seat filler. I get to sit in the seat and say, this is what you requested. This is what was needed. And so everything about the system of support is all student voice, whether it's me tabling events, whether it's me speaking to their classroom, whether it's going to all 5 campuses, Winchester, Georgetown, Danville. That's what this program is about, and that's why we're on campus. That's why KCTCS continues to develop the relationship and the collaboration, and hopefully putting someone on all 16 campuses as we go forward.
Thanks, Lamont. Really appreciate your perspective on that.
Thank you.
When we're designing programs, student voice is critical. The data, the national data that we talked about, and that Kentucky's data follows it pretty closely, is great but incomplete. And we know because of differences in collection that data is incomplete. So, Robyn, this next question is for you. Since FAFSA, for example, no longer asks about parental status, how can campuses collect this valuable information to track their parenting student population? And then, of course, the resources needed to support them.
Sure. Yeah, so I started at the university around 15 years ago, and one of the things that we kind of had to start evolving at that time was, how do we even know who our student parents are? At that time, it was a little bit easier to track them because the majority were in person. And so they got to know our professors, and they got to know our staff, and it was a little bit easier. What we all know now is it's gotten a little bit harder to identify our student parents, especially because so many of them are now online. Here at EKU, we have a wonderful online program that's really just taken off in the last 5 or so years, and we do find the majority of our parenting students online. So I say that because that also changes some of the needs that they have, where I see Brittany probably 3 times a week. So I can very easily connect with her, and I know everything that's going on in her life. I've got, well, maybe not everything, but I've got all of the graduate schools that she's applying to on Post-its all over my wall. And so, we're able to really make that connection. it's harder with this online population of people, but we know that it's important. Tracy, some of those statistics that you said earlier really leans towards what are some of those resources. And as public universities, we have an obligation to make sure all of our students, not just the ones that are in my office every day, get the access to resources and the needs that they have. So way back 15 years ago, we didn't really know how to track very well. We started getting some access or ability to start using that FAFSA data to be able to identify our student parents, which was lovely. Just being able to do some touch points and to have a number in place. What we found, and currently our estimate is around 1,300 student parents that we have at Eastern Kentucky University. And so that's one of the largest subpopulation of students that we have. And we know that our student parents cross over lots of other demographics like first generation, veteran students, minority students, and all of those things really make it where they need a lot of extra resources and support. So right now we still have some of that information. What we did right now, so this is kind of the answer to the question, is our wonderful data team has been able to go back into old FAFSAs and pull students that said at any point that they had had a dependent under the age of 18. So that's the way that original FAFSA question was. Do you have a dependent under the age of 18? So they were able to pull those numbers over to help us at least capture those that had identified that before. Now, there's also, this question is still on the FAFSA, however, it's now an optional question. And by what I understand, it's one of about 150 optional questions. So when I first pulled my data last year, because I didn't even know it was taken off, I pulled up and there was like 35 student parents at EKU. And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense, right? And so that's when we started realizing that is not a way that we're going to be able to collect any of our data. So unfortunately for now, maybe it'll change sometime, but that FAFSA data is not going to be an option. Something else that is an option, however, is being able to collect that information at the admissions process of being able to put some questions on those admissions application or the admissions information that says, are you pregnant or are you parenting a child under 18? So we've been able to do that over the years as well. We also have sometimes over the years been able to put that on the application itself when people are first identifying their demographics on the application. And so those are some ways that institutionally we can do those things. Now, one of the best, I think, data collection tools that I've ever been able to use, and I will try to find the link and put it in there or send it out to you, is the Family Friendly Campus. It is a national program. It started with Ascend Institute, I think is the name, and they developed a toolkit, and it's called the Family Friendly Toolkit. And came out of Endicott College. They have it's a kind of a system in which that you pull your campus partners together and you start looking at how family friendly is your university. We did this program around 2018 and we're tracking our data for about 4 years. And then of course, COVID hit in 2020 and it kind of changed that program a little bit. But what we were able to do is capture these questions that the Family Friendly Toolkit had already put together for us. And we put those out on our student platform to where students got that survey. And the first question was, are you a parent? Do you have a child under 18? And if they said no, it went away. If they said yes, it took them into the survey. So not only did we, and it was a pop-up that they had to answer, or it would never go away. Like they'd have to see it every time they logged in. So that was really helpful because it did allow us to be able to get that good data. But that data also collects, have they ever had a stop out before? What are the ages of their children? What kind of support have they received at the university? But just lots of really rich data that was really great for us. So anybody who is interested in kind of using that program, it is actually free. You can Google family friendly campus, and you will, thank you, Autumn, and you will find the toolkit. And you can pull that and work with your university stats people and get that data out. And I would love if I don't know if how many schools have ever used that, but I really encourage that. Another thing that I think would be incredibly kind of helpful in order to get that data collected is if in the state of Kentucky, all of our post-secondary education had the same system. So, we have to track certain things. And I'm not our SACS accreditation person. I have no idea a lot of those things, but I know that we have to track a lot of things. There are some states that have put state law in. Oregon is one. I think Washington State is another one that they are now requiring their institutions of higher education to track their parenting student population. And I would love to see Kentucky follow suit with some of those other folks as well, because data is important. If it wasn't for data, a lot of us wouldn't be here. Brittany wouldn't be here. We got to know how to work with her, right? I mean, we got to know she's out there, and we have to know the kind of resources and services that our students need. And so I think it's really important.
Thank you, Robyn. We're going to pause and we've got a few questions, Ariane.
Yes. So one I did type in the answer to that. It was asking about the vacancy. So Chris and I had a conversation the other day, and I said we're gonna get those vacancies filled. So I already answered their question. There are 2 vacancies for the 2-bedroom. There's a wait list for the 3-bedroom. So thank you for that question. For Lamont, we have, what methods do you use to gather student voices, and how often do you do that?
Yeah, Chris, one of the easiest things that we do, and it's not just for BCTC, it's across the state. We do Kentucky State, we do ECTC, we do Owensboro, we do Madison, MCTC, Madisonville. It's call campaigns, right? Our Traeger Response Center will handle call campaigns for any of our post-secondary schools. All you got to do is let us know. We'll call your students. We do one at the beginning of the semester here at BCTC. We do one mid-semester. We do one at the end of the semester. So students are receiving information 3 times the semester and just asking, hey, what do you need? And it's their opportunity to say, well, our pantry is good, but we need more bread. Well, our child care assistant is good, but we need more. So excuse me, call campaigns are a huge asset to us. Again, all the forward facing things that I get to do, orientations and all of that, that's great. But call campaigns tap into an avenue. I can't reach all 10,000 students in one day, and call campaigns with our Traeger Response Center doing those for us. I mean, it's great. They'll knock out BCTC one week, they'll knock out Kentucky State in the next week. And so if you have a school, if you're on here and you want to reach some students, send it over to me. I'll get it to our response center. We'll make call campaigns for you all. And we do it with an area code. So from your area. So if you're in Western Kentucky, we're going to do those call campaigns from a Western Kentucky area code. So those students that you have feel like they're getting a call from someone that's there next to them. We want them to be personal. We want them to feel like their support system's there. So that's the biggest one that we use, again, outside of just me being out in front and a busy body.
Thank you for that, Lamont. And we have a question for Robyn. Well, I will say they're pieces. I'm going to break it out. Okay. Do you have any specific contacts you'd recommend to reach out about getting more resources for parenting students? This attendee has noted that their university has tried a few years to get a grant for childcare, but the efforts have been unsuccessful.
Yeah. So I think one of the actual best resources for childcare is the Child Care Assistance Program through the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. So the income guidelines have kind of changed a little bit over the years. So you can, be making more and more money than ever before and still qualify for some child care assistance, which is amazing. So don't forget that programming is now administered completely through the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. You apply for that online. You can go into a local office, same place you get your food stamps, same place you get your Medicaid. You can also apply for child care assistance. If your income is a little higher, sometimes you have just a small copay that is helpful to not have to pay for so much as well. Now, this person might be referring to the C Campus grant. That is Child Care Access Means Parents in School. That's what C Campus means. And so several institutions across the state have had those grants. EKU has had one before as well. We do not currently. That is some federal dollars. I know that I actually have one of my former participants who is running one of those grants at one of our community colleges. And so that's a pretty exciting full circle moment for her as well. But that C Campus is an option, and it's a great grant to be under. But yeah, childcare is difficult, and especially as we get to our more rural areas, and we wish we had better options or more options in a lot of places too. But those are the two big ones for us.
Thank you for that. I know this attendee is looking to be able to take back some suggestions to their supervisor and take some initiative on how to best aid parenting students. They're just trying to figure out who to contact, where does some of that funding come from.
Yeah.
We have a follow-up, it's just a question or statement, but they're expressing the concern is not just the actual child care openings. It's the assistance is the problem is the actual child care opening. So we talk about this a lot. It's like, okay, we've got, individuals who have CCAP, or they may even have the funding themselves to pay for child care, but there are not a lot of slots available. And so I would pose this to all the panelists, what are some of those resources, or what are some of those things that you hear that students, their communities or campuses are doing to help fill in that gap when there are just not enough slots available? I can chime in as the panelists are thinking, and I can only chime in not as a panelist, but because we have our community of practice often, and this is a topic that has come up, which has led Tracy and I to do this session. But some of our communities and some of our campuses have their own approach, their own community-oriented approach. Some campuses have worked with their early childhood programs, and they have like emergency support, drop-in care for students. I know some of the student support services TRIO programs have had some drop-in hours for parents to study, to do final exams and things that happen in like off hours where their childcare facilities are usually closed or a relative is not available. It's late in the evening. So those are some of the things that we've been hearing where they're discussing, there's just not enough slots. There's not enough spaces available. There are long wait lists. So we've been also encouraging our campus partners and students to have conversations with us, and we will be doing a lot more work with that. Tracy is leading the charge in the child care solutions work, and just listening to everyone, the students expressing what those needs are, what those hours look like, where the voids are, as well as having conversations with the campuses on what are some of the creative solutions they can do with their community partners to address some of these. There's another question that has popped up, Tracy, and I'm going to be mindful of the time, and I'll take this as the last question. But I would also note that this will be posted, I'm pretty sure in our Impact Exchange, it'll be posted on there. We go and, check and look through there. So if there's some questions or comments or information that you all have, I would encourage you all to go and access this recording on the Impact Exchange and share your information, your thoughts, and your insights that you have. So the last one says, even with qualifying for child care assistance, the issue is placing multiple kids in one daycare. For example, one daycare can have an opening for a certain age group, but not have another opening for the other child in a different age group. And that is when the child care assistance does not cover two different daycares. Any advice? Has anyone ever dealt with a student dealing with that?
Yeah, I've had it a couple times, and I think it goes back to what Autumn touched on with your community partners, right? We can't just stop at just one community partner for childcare. Um, Us as employees, as workers, we've got to be on the ground running for our students. We've got to have that available for our students, and for the students that have multiple kids. Every one of our students is not just a single parent of one child, so we've got to be aware of that. We've got to be seeking facilities and childcare situations that can accommodate multiple kids. And so just like any other resource, when one runs out, you go on to the next one. And so it's a little difficult in rural areas, but again, it's our job to be on the ground and hit it running and try to find that resource for our students. We want to do everything that we can. We're fortunate enough to here at BCTC, we have a daycare on campus, at the Leestown campus. And so if that's needed, our students can have access to that. But even beyond that, within Lexington, we have some partnerships that we're able to help students with. So it does come up. There are a lot of instances where they may have an opening for the infant baby, but the 7-year-old, there's no openings. The 8-year-old, there's no openings. And so it's then our job to go back and find that for their student. As much as they're working for themselves, we're there to be a part of that support system again. So.
Thank you so much for that. And with that, I will turn it back over to Tracy.
We just want to thank all of our panelists for sharing your expertise and your solutions with everyone. We also just want, I'll reiterate what Ariane shared. We are digging in over the next year pretty deeply into childcare solutions work. And so if there's information and expertise that you have that you want to share, please reach out. If there are additional questions, please reach out. We'll be sure to get those to our panelists and to support in any way that we can. Brittany, again, thank you for joining us from Colorado. We appreciate your participation. And Chris, thank you for the spotlight. We want to make sure that all of your spots are filled. And we thank you for your time again. We hope you were able to learn something today that you can take back to your campus to institute for action. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy.